So guys, the purpose, just to back it up, the purpose of my channel is to bring together sacred texts and stuff that I've personally actually lived, not just theory, not just philosophy, not just language and like deconstructing ideas, but I've actually lived it. So I have a lot of confidence in what I say because my 2 little feet and my 2 eyeballs have walked and seen and smelled, tasted, touched, lived this story since I was a little girl, and I can't be more thrilled than having so many other people awake right now. Am I special? No. I mean, yeah, in the sense that like I'm unique. I have my own experience with my awakening that gives me rock solid confidence in what I'm going to teach about the Bible and about like the Book of Enoch and things that happened in Egypt and along with Native American, the music industry and other stuff. I had a lot of questions for God when I was little, and I definitely have an unshakable faith in how this light frequency game works. But I wouldn't have this much confidence if I hadn't actually lived it, not just in meditation, but actually seen face to face a lot of the teachers and walked with them and had the gift of 40 years, 40 plus years of putting together answers just for myself. And now with the internet, the interwebs, not just this one, but the one that we have out here, we can all walk the walk of love, and people who want us to still believe that none of this is real, they won't be able to shake you anymore. So it took me a while to get up to speed with myself, and I want to thank Abraham Hicks and Daryl Anka and Bashar and all the higher awakening video channels on YouTube, from Suzanne Lai on down the line to all you guys, because every time I had a question for myself, a video would pop up on my alert thing, and it just kept coming together and coming together, or a song would come on the radio, right? You guys have been there. So my story is this. When I was a little girl, and this is really weird for me to tell because, as we all know, it's all happening right here, right now. This is the eternal now. So this video and all of my videos are just a piece in your path to validate to you what either you've asked, you've suspected, or you know, or you've lived, or you're wondering about. So I'll give you everything I got and everything I've gotten so that you can design your reality in such a way that you're having the most amount of fun and playing with your DNA structure and the stars in such a way that you love your life more. You're a child of the light. I have vivid memories, and they still happen. So on a linear timeline, when I was a little girl, I used to lay in my backyard on a chair, and all these fizzy bugs, these light beings, would come and surround me, and my body would expand and contract and stretch, and you know, with my eyes closed, it was amazing. I could just feel my physical vehicle change itself for fun, and then the trees would get in on it, and I would just lay there and be like, this is so weird. I can be this big, and I can be this big, and I can be this small, and I can be as vast as the universe. But I didn't know what was happening back then. But there was this one particular day that I remember distinctly where a whole group of them left my body. I watched them go. They just went off. And I felt so empty. It was like something was gone. A part of me had disappeared. And I just was lost from there. Now, prior to that, I used to lie in my bed at night and watch them in the air, in the ether above my bed, and just talk to them. I didn't know back then that who they were, what they were, that they were the non-entities. Now we have Abraham Hicks, who's channeled Abraham. We call him Abraham now. Thank you, Esther. Channeled their voice and their teachings all these years since the 80s. Back then, I just knew they were watching me, and I didn't know what to do, and I kind of would get a little uncomfortable because I felt like I should be talking to them, but I didn't know what to say. So I would just watch them fly across the room and like hit my face and do all this weird stuff to me. So I've always been able to see them and kind of pick up on some of their frequencies, but I didn't realize and understand how intertwined I was with them and how they and I were actually playing this game for this particular linear lifetime of mine. When I was around 4 or 5 years old, Jesus showed up in my bathroom encased in one of those gossamer bodies and told me, I'm carrying you. And I went running down the hall with my underwear at my ankles to tell my mom, Jesus is carrying me, Jesus is carrying me. He just showed up in the bathroom, right? That didn't even stick. But I went to Catholic school and I carried a Bible with me wherever I went. And I read it and I started memorizing the Bible. And my whole being was attached to this book in such a way that, like, when I would go to church on Sundays, I would sit in that pew and I would listen to that priest, like, on the edge of my seat, and I would realize something's wrong. Something's off. Something isn't right here. I don't know what it is, but there shouldn't be a dead body hanging in front of a little kid. I know that's wrong. Something's off with this picture, and it's in here, and I'm going to find it. So when I was in the first grade, I went to, sorry to shake the table. When I was in the first grade and we did our first communion, they said, do you have any questions? And I raised my hand and I asked the priest, what's the word? No answer. And I was like, well, here's the deal. You're teaching the Mass. And I didn't say it like that. I was from first grade. I was like, well, it says, only say the word and I shall be healed. So shouldn't we all be sort of walking around saying that word all day long? Because it must be a really important word. And they had me sit back down. And not only was I embarrassed in front of my classmates, I was really angry because it seemed like the most important thing to me in the entire Mass. If there's a word, we need to know this word, right? Now, most people would say the word is Jesus, and Jesus is a very powerful word. He will come in a heartbeat when you call on him. But even Jesus said, as I have done, so can you and more. So he was using the word. How does this all fit in? This became my life's quest. This became, outside of, normal kid time and everything, my collegiate passion. I studied philosophies, and from Taoism to anything I could get my hands on, Native Americans, constantly looking for something in me always knew this whole thing fits together really simply, and somewhere along the line it's gotten way screwed up. Somebody screwed it up. It's off. Something's majorly off here. And my soul just knew it. And little did I know, those fizzy bugs were guiding me, chink, 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 moment to moment to moment. I met Native American shaman who trained me in beading and sage and sweat lodges, and piece by piece, crystal by crystal, moment by moment, person by person, it was like the universe loaded up my backpack with all the pieces. From the Bible, somebody left me the book of Enoch, asked me to hang on to it. He was a shepherd for Native Americans, a shaman, a perfect mirror of my Christed self. What a beautiful soul. Thank you, G. And he took me out west. And that's where I spent time with the Native Americans, with the shaman. They knew who I was. I didn't even know who I was. But these Native American women would give me rattles and baby gifts, knowing that I was going to have a child. I mean, I was really young. I was like, I'm not having a kid. And when I was with the Native Americans, the memories of the white buffalo woman like flooded back to me, of a past life of being with them in the peace pipe and how tobacco worked. And it just, that piece of my memory bank split wide open and it all downloaded to me. And it kind of freaked me out because I realized, oh God, I'm not from here. I mean, I've been here a lot of times, but I'm not from here. That out there makes more sense than this linear timeline. And so people thought I was nuts a little bit, except for the shaman and teachers and people that are way out there that got me. But I had to then put together all my memories of this lifetime, while all my memories of all the way past Egypt. I mean, I can't even tell you how many, if I'm not careful, my brain will get overwhelmed. But all these lifetimes came crashing back into my head. And, but I still had to live this life, and that was overwhelming because I had to like get up and go to work and do this and do that. But in the meantime, in my brain, I'm like trying to navigate and put it all back together, like, because I became this point of focus of all these souls and all these lifetimes asking me for something, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then I did end up getting pregnant and getting married and, having a normal life thing happen. And years would go by and those just normal reality things would happen and I'd forget. I'd fall back asleep. And then I had another child And when I was pregnant with my other child, my shaman soulmate dude showed up out of nowhere. I don't even know how he found me to this day. Knocked on the door and said, I could hear you screaming in the universe. And believe me, I was screaming. It was a really terrifying time. I don't want to talk about that time in my life. It was not pretty. And I had been screaming every night in my soul, crying, freaking out. And he came and he knocked on the door and he gave me the hugest hug, picked me up in the air and said, I'm always here. I've always been carrying you. I'm going to cry. I'll always have you. And we sat outside and we talked for a while. And it still didn't click. I still didn't get it. And then it took, because the trauma of that period of my life was terrible, then fast forward to my son being 7 or 8, I had this horrible knee surgery where a surgeon left me crippled, which was just outrageous because now I can't walk. And then everything I cared about, all my projects, all my websites, all my books. I mean, I was becoming this like big single mom advocate and starting groups and having, making products and being a webinar person or whatever, all that stuff. But then my knee, I couldn't walk and I was devastated. I mean, I was just beside myself. So I couldn't even look at myself in the bathroom light because the stitches were so ugly. I would bathe with the light off. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. So one night I got in the bathtub and I ran the water and I sat in the water and I just was weeping and I cried out, Jesus, you came to me when I was 4 and I'm really, really sorry. I haven't really talked to you that much in the past, God knows how many years, but you've got to come back. You've got to come back. I had called every surgeon in the country, and Erin Brockovich kindly had told me she would help me sue the surgeon who had left me crippled, and I didn't even have the strength to go through that, so I didn't sue him. And out of nowhere, or out of nothing, boom, there he was again, this gossamer being laughing in my face and told me flat out right in that moment 2 very important things. Number 1, he said, shut up. You planned for this. This is the whole point of your life path this time around. I will help you. This is part of the plan. You're going to prove me. But right now you got to calm down. I'm way up here frequency-wise. I'm way up here where you want to be. You're way down here in depression. I'm not coming down there. But I'm going to hold the word. And you're going to find that note. The word is grace. It's a note. It's a sound. It's a frequency. He said, I'm going to hold that and you're going to find it and you're going to have to find your way to that pitch. And every cell in your body knows me because I am every cell in your body. I'm carrying you. Duh. Let that sink in. So the separation of us and God is the illusion. It's all such an illusion. And so we use this, we're gifted. I mean, you're behind your eyeballs. We're gifted this vehicle of him or it or them, the Abrahams, the whole universe carries you because there's only one point in time. There's nothing else to carry you because there's only one thing. There's only one star. Let's do it that way. Let's go to the Big Bang Theory. Ooh, better yet, Big Bang. Okay, so if it's a Big Bang, it goes like, but it's all one thing, right? So you can visualize that stretched out. So you can see it that way, or you can see it as quantum physics talks about this particle over here. If you guys don't know about quantum physics or quantum entanglement, look it up. It's really cool. So if this particle and this particle are having a relationship, if this one starts to move, this one starts to move because they all want to be in harmony. Everything wants to be in resonance with itself. Perfect health, perfect infinity loop, perfect balance. So this is where it all starts to come together. So there I was in 2012 with this crippled knee, and Jesus, God bless you, Lord, the Lord of Light, literally stood by my bed every night. I could see him, and he wouldn't say anything except he would say the word peace, and I could hear that sound, that grace. And he trained me how to pull that into my hand and use it to tone, resonate just by contact, just by touch, all the cells in my knee. And so when you're looking at him and you're seeing him touching his heart and holding up his hand, he's not telling you peace out. He's telling you the power of the right hand is in your right hand too. You're one with him. Your right hand has that much power. Ooh. So the first image of the Sacred Heart is with 3 fingers. The two would be him and you. And your thumb is kind of like your ego, but we won't get into that right now. But the last image we have of Jesus is the Divine Mercy from Sister Faustina, who saw him continually and was his, here we go again, his secretary. She took notes, lots of notes, kind of like me. I took lots of notes on everything he said. And he's holding up an open hand. And believe it or not, what he's symbolizing to everyone is the doors are open, the veils are down, it's like an open book. All the information is available to everyone now. In the beginning it was hidden, and now it's wide open. So you are now responsible, and able, obviously responsible, but able to do as he did as well, because he is you. We're all one. We're all from the same thing, the same soup, same light. So when you're on Earth and you think of, crazy to say it that way because you're always somewhere. But, so let's make this really simple. When you, in your body, close your eyes, you can realize that your consciousness is having a relationship with the whole universe, but you're carrying the whole universe because there's only one thing carrying you from different frequencies. You know, your ear frequency, your nose frequency, your hair frequency. So all these various tones and health balances were set before you were born, and your heart keeps that rhythm, keeps the beat, keeps the tone of grace, the self-reflection that is you as you know you. So when you listen to Abraham Hicks and you hear her say over and over again, you are liquid love, and what you want is alignment. What you want is alignment. What you're reaching for is the light. Be the light. That's what the fizzy bugs, the Abrahams, are telling you, is you're not reaching for though another car and another house and all the the trappings of being human are really, really fun, right? You want that. It's a good time. But to be able even to enjoy all that stuff, you want your own health. You want your own self. That's what you want. So when Jesus says you become like little children, that's what he's saying is you begin to trust that your perspective connected to the higher mind, the sun, from your physical perspective, it's just easier to say the sun, which can see over here, way above you, and that's where you're trying to stay in the film. If that's where you want to be, is like your new house or whatever, and your perfect health or whatever, then you have to find that path, note by note, moment by moment, second by second. So for me, my path was to find cell by cell splitting and growing, and I had to actually, it was a lot of work, it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, learn how to direct my cells, which I had no idea prior to this experience how obvious and simple it is. And most people, I'm going to lean on Lee Carroll and Cryon's teachings, most people don't understand that you can have that, as Jesus did, that powerful and direct of a relationship with your physical body. Your cells are doing what you expect them to do. So if you really think that you're 50 years old or you're 100 years old and therefore you are dying, if that's what you truly believe, then that's what they're going to show you. But I had to explain to my cells, no, we're eternal. It's forever. You guys have a code, a DNA code that you can re-access, and we're going to do that. And so Jesus would stand there, and it was amazing. This like entire family of light would fill my room. It was crazy beautiful. And these little cherub angels would just laugh at me. I mean, all these souls, the entire universe showed up to laugh at me. It was amazing. It wasn't easy being laughed at when my leg would only bend this far still, because I was still terrified. But he explained to me that, like, if you're terrified, you can't move. You've got to bring that down to faith. You've got to bring that up to faith. And you've got to know that even prior to your surgery, your body knew what to do. And if you can remember that, then you're halfway there, because your body knows what to do. If you will allow it. If you will let it do what it can do. So, from 2012 to now, I had the gift of watching not just my body wake up, Jesus be awake and standing in my room, and all these angels talking to me, but the gift of watching right along with all of my waking up, my body waking up, the whole planet waking up right along with me. So there was a day where I said to Jesus, why is everyone out? How is this working? He's like, well, if you're going to ask me to come all the way down here and stand right next to you on this planet, believe me, my frequency is going to be worldwide. And I was like, that's what's happening? He's like, yeah. If you're going to wake me up, then we're going to wake everybody up, because I am everybody. So in terms of the second coming, we just went through it for the past 5 years, and it's going to be ongoing, I guess. I'm not going to predict the future. So it revealed that that Esther has been like laying down the path for people to comprehend how that works for 20 something plus years, 30 years. And we have Daryl Anka, who's been channeling Bashar, which is another perspective of the Christ itself from a different planet's point of view toward Earth, constantly communicating. We have everyone else who's woken up, who's been channeling the archangels and the angels. Now, this sounds all really woo-woo, right? But what you got to remember is when you have one thing that fills the entire everything, the multiverses, the universes, it's always connected. So if this guy wants to talk to this guy, they can have a communication. And it's all happening like the internet, but on a grander cosmic scale, which anyone who's awake, who's been physically going through all this, you totally know what I'm talking about. So I collected a ton of notes about the eternal now and how it's always now, and I found some more funnies. And back up for a second, when it was the 90s and I was out west with the Native Americans, on my way there while I was driving, mostly in the middle of the night, I don't have another word, but the things you can't see, were training me how to focus light and sound. So I would drive and really cool things would happen. It was like I was in a little ship. You know, the truck became like a ship, because everything I would emanate out would come back, which on the level of physics makes perfect sense. But what made it really cool was things would pop up outside on the road and then disappear, and pop up and disappear. And I was like, whoa, we are slipstreaming through universes in a car. How the hell am I time traveling in a car? And it was so cool, because I could turn down a road in the middle of the night and there would be buildings, and I'd go like 5 miles and I would realize, oh, this isn't the way I want to go, and I want to go back, and they were gone. It was phenomenal. And if I didn't have someone with me, I would think I was crazy. But so what does that mean? That means that when people talk about you can miraculously create your reality and it will attract you and it will show up out of nowhere, it really does. It really, really does. And so where am I going with all this? That's my story. Having lived it for my whole life, I was really scared when I was younger because people did think I was nuts. Very few people were awake. I met maybe a handful, and I mean a handful, like 10 or less people that understood what was going on and understood how to communicate with me and understood what I could do. I've met one therapist, a woman who's a therapist, that woke up a long time ago, and she knew what I was talking about. But while my knee was healing, to watch the whole planet start to wake up, I felt a lot of relief and a lot of safety, because that's the whole point of why we're all here, which, if you're already awake, you already knew that. So I prayed for a while, and I talked to God and all my little guides. I'm like, all right, what do you guys, what's my thing? And they're like, well, you're the connector, you're the bridge maker between the church and rock and roll and people living in trailers and people in government and people who are scared, and to show that all of these modalities, all of these things have very simple explanations in their connectivity. And I guess the most important piece of it for now is it's all about unconditional love. They're all just different pieces of information. That's the way to say it. So, like, this is a coin. It's just a coin. It's a piece of metal. You can attach a definition to it that makes it powerful, like it's money, and give it a certain, you can give it more importance than a marker. Like, what's more important, the money or the marker? Well, no, it's up to you. But they're equally valid creations from the perspective of the creator. Sometimes you need a marker more than you need a dollar. Maybe you need to leave somebody a note. So that's a really important example to show that, like, how you define your reality and how you put an overemphasis on certain definitions can actually weigh you down, like screw you up, because in this moment in time, this might be exactly what you need. In this moment in time, this might be exactly what you need. And so things move around the universe, shift around, change hands, go over here, go over there, go over there, go over there, go over there. But everybody gets what they need when they need it, and the universe knows how to manage that. Because if you try to manage that, which people do all day long, every day in their head, you really try to micromanage the placement of things in your home, and the placement of people, and the placement of their ideas, and the placement of their beliefs, and who they are and where they are and how they should believe and what they should wear, and what their sexuality should be. And that's where we've really screwed it all up. It's not how it's meant to roll. It's all valid. If it exists, it's part of existence, and it's valid because at any moment in time it can change. That's not your job. Your job, your walk with God on this planet is meant to be a walk with God. I mean, you're in there, and be a light for others to see how, whether they see it or not is none of your business, but for you to be, for you to have a physical experience of what it means to walk in the light of Christ. Now, do you have to call it Christ? No, you can call it Abraham. You can call it Yeshua. You could call it the sun. You could call it angels. They don't care. But you are surrounded by all there is. And all there is all comes from one thing. So what's cool about that is it knows itself. Go back to quantum physics. If you need a sandwich, it knows how to find the sandwich that you both need. So you can pretend that you're separate, like there's you and them, and you play with them like this, but always remembering that you're one of them because you're one with everything. That's key, because what used to bother me with the church when I was little and I couldn't put my finger on it was like, why do we keep, number one, why do we have a dead body hanging in a church in front of children? I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, that's my pet peeve. That's just my thing. Like, why don't we have like an angel? Or why don't we have nothing? Just nothing. Whatever. But that took me a while to I had to let that go. One of the reasons I suspect there's a dead body hanging in churches is a warning sign to people who decide to stand up for the truth. They don't really like that. And I don't know how the church rolls. I haven't been in the church for a long time. So at any rate, what I did realize, what bothered me as a child, was we were holding these sermons and gatherings and experiences where we kept God somewhere else. Sort of, we were aiming and wanting to be acceptable to God, wanting to be okay, wanting to be forgiven, needing to go to confession, wanting to apologize and atone, or, say we're sorry for how we screwed up his whole planet, or and some of us have made mistakes, and we can forgive ourselves for that. But what I realized in my healing was, if we really want all that, then just start living in a way that is appreciative and loving, and all those things go away. Stop pretending that it's all wrong, and start looking for what's right, and start and choosing to live with integrity, and then all that just goes away. It's so obvious. So rather than telling children that, you need to pray to God and da-da-da-da, teach them how to play with God. Play, enjoy the planet, because that's what it was created for. And to appreciate the tools that are here rather than hoard them. And I think this is totally a personal opinion and I shouldn't have it, but I have it. I think the saddest thing I see with people that are really, really rich, that are really, really miserable, is somebody tricked them as kids that if they went and collected all that money and all that stuff, there was some sort of like magic prize at the end. And there wasn't one. And it's sad to watch that, because they're really sad. They've got all this money and all this stuff and they're miserable. And so they spent all those years chasing or collecting or doing whatever they did to become somebody they thought they would become, and that would be happiness. But they had to give up their true natural self, like stuff down their innate love of life itself to go play with the people on that platform. And it's so sad to see where they are now, because all those people that they thought were going to stick around and gave a shit about them are gone, and they're left with a pile of stuff and themselves, and they're alone, and that's sad. Well, I think it's sad. I think that's why Jesus tells that guy, sell all that you have and come follow me, and then you'll figure it out. Because it's just a walk. It's just a walk. It's just a walk. And what you need comes, and you find gold coins in fish's mouths every now and then. So that is my story. My name is Christina. I have a couple of gifts. I can hear invisible energy. Obviously, I can see invisible energy. I can understand what people call light language. It happens so quickly, but it's a really cool language. When Daryl channels Bashar, I'm not going to put words in Daryl's mouth or Bashar's mouth, but when I hear his definition of, they have an ancient language, which is very similar to English. The word ancient means a lot to me, because when I'm messing around in energetic languages, there's no words, there's just frequencies, and they're very fast, and they're very compact, and they're very, very direct. So when I started studying quantum physics, I started looking into quantum physics to comprehend how to put into English and human words what happened with my knee. Like, how do you explain to a doctor or a scientist? Like, my doctor said, that's medically impossible. It's like a medical miracle that you just did that. How did you do it? And I couldn't find an answer in words for how. I can see it in my head. I can probably draw it. But I couldn't find the words to explain it. So I did a lot of meditating on, like, why can't we find words to explain that? And I got an answer. Because human beings let's use the Bible. When you take this book and you look at it, it's all in there, right? It's all in there. Everything that was supposed to be in here, it's in there. Just like in my body, it's all in there. All that information is in there. So if I go to four-leaf clover, to this page, and what I need right now is this piece of information, then I'll get that piece of information. But it's only relevant for this moment in time and for whatever I was asking for. Now, what does that mean to humans? It means we've been reading this book linearly, like in a straightforward, like front to back way. But that's not the way it works. I finally decoded the whole Bible. That's not the way it works. It's a holistic magic. It's magic. It is magic. It's a magic book. That's why people play the Bible game where you open it up and you get what you need when you need it. Because the whole universe doesn't make mistakes. It'll take you where you need to be when you need to be there. So, let me see it's linearly, this is such a challenge for me, but I will do my best for you. So, when I was trying to figure out how to explain quantum physics in words that happened with my knee, I realized I could draw it, but I'll just draw it right now. It's, here's this cell where I am, and here's this life experience where I want to be. I just have to start vibrating my body at this one and let this one disappear, and then that's the only thing I am. So it caused me to like youth and go through all these wonderful experiences. It's that simple. It's like you're on this page and you want to be on this page, you just got to jump to that page, like quantum leaping, and everything else will go along with it, and you have to let everything else go. If you are in fear and worry, then the rest of your body won't catch up. Does that make sense? So if you want to play C sharp, you just play C sharp. You forget about F and G and B and D and E, and you let it go. You just play that you that you want to be. You be that you that you want to be, that you know you innately are. Thank you, Karan. The word innate has become one of my favorite words. So in terms of the Bible, at any given moment in time, it contains, if you like using the Bible as a tool, it contains whatever you need. But what I learned when I decoded the whole thing was it has holographic, deeper, universal stories happening that are actually happening right now. I mean, this is not a dead book. This is a living word. Believe me. That are happening now. So some of you are going to walk through biblical stories in your own life, and the Bible is going to help you comprehend yourself. Because since it's all one person and all one thing, then it's all one character acting out all other characters. Now, why in the cosmos would a consciousness choose to be simultaneously everything at the same time? It's a very efficient way to experience stuff in the shortest amount of time possible. Lifetime by lifetime. So they're all happening in parallel realities. I always thought that was a reasonable question to ask. Why would God decide to manifest as everything, good, bad, ugly, everything? Many reasons, one of which is it's efficient. Number two is, if you're wondering why there are bad people in the world, etc., 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 just remember every one of those souls has free will. They gotta choose. Do I want to go the kind, loving way, or do I want to be the bad guy? You still gotta choose. And sooner or later, they figure out it's easier to be the light. So back to the Bible, that's what all these stories are these experiences that were written down. Here's the fun part. Who wrote it down? Well, an embodiment of that same one being, leaving what? Notes to itself. Notes to itself, so that what? It can, back to Jesus in the bathtub, so that we could prove him as the one, best words yet, as the firstborn of the dead. That's important, because he is a major guide on planet Earth, along with all these other manifestations of souls, and all of us, we're guides too, and we've been in training hardcore since 2012 on how to be guides. But to prove him as a Lord of Light, along with this entourage of all these archangels and Abrahams and everything else, but this book back to my childhood, really got misinterpreted. And so when I was asking, well, what's my role in all this? Like, the internet's full of people teaching the law of attraction and teaching love and light. And I'm like, so where do I fit in? Like, what's my gig? Well, my gig is I decoded this whole book, which is a really wonderful thing to have done and an incredible gift to have been given, but also a very frightening thing to have done. In the sense that I don't know if the Pope's going to dig it. Actually, I think Pope Francis could dig it. Because what it is a holographic story that's written, well, holographically. So when you have Revelation happening, Genesis is happening at the same time. There's an inside, it's a scroll. There's an inside story and an outside story. Really, Christina? How the hell does that work? Well, you've got an Ankh. Remember my last video? You've got the Ankh, which is the open, and you got the cross, which is the closed. And then, welcome to modern technology. You got the 0 and the 1. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. You just got God breathing truth. And now it's undeniable. Because my favorite thing was I didn't just decode the whole Bible. I decoded like the letters and the words. Like, I didn't stop. I kept going like, okay, well, here's the whole story. And then here's this passage or this book. And then there's this passage. And then there's this verse. But what about this word? Now, what about this letter? And so it took me not just through the entire Bible, and I didn't just stick with the King James Version. I would get online and I would research it back to the Greek, the Latin, the Hebrew, just to cross-reference, because there's a lot of translations in here that are off a little bit in terms of what the words really mean. Like, Eretz, the earth, it's the foundation. Hell isn't really hell. It's a place where, I think it's called Sheol, where they would take their garbage. It's sort of like what you get rid of, the stuff you leave behind. You leave behind hell. It's not that you go to hell and burn in hell. It's that that's where you get refined in the fire. Anyway, anybody wants to talk about the Bible, believe me, I'll do that later. So that's my gift. I lean heavily on the Book of Enoch because that helped me through my healing. It helped me understand the physics of the light work I was doing in my knee, and to comprehend how there are other consciousnesses on higher levels out, and all these other beings that are out there that can hear you think and will reflect back to you the guidance and teachings that you need. Way better than the library, but they'll use the library if you want them to. They'll use whatever you want. So that's me. I have spent the past 7 months doing a lot of sleeping and healing, a little bit deeper healing, and haven't really wanted to be online because I had some stuff to work out in my own self-refining. But now I'm ready to get back in here and jump in, and I look forward to meeting anybody who gets this stuff and wants to play or talk or ask about biochemistry or physics or the Bible's my really fun thing. But ultimately where I'm going to go with this is just trust whatever I'm inspired to post, I'm going to post. Whatever memories I have about my healing and things, I'll let you know. And the last thing is every cell in your body is consciousness. So you can talk to them like they're people. It's just consciousness. You don't have to act like this. You know, God created a beast. God does that with Abraham. It happens in Genesis. He creates a beast. It happens also in Revelation. We are given a beast. It happens in Egypt with the Sphinx or Thoth. You know, you see the body with the animal head. Everyone's just trying to show you we're all animals. But we're angelic animals. We're not just beasts. So like with the dog meat trade and like all this abuse and stuff, you're like abusing God. Just saying. It's all consciousness that came from one consciousness realizing it was alone and it didn't want to be alone. This kind of starts right there because you wonder where did it all start. It started with one that decided to create a mirror of itself, and then because it's a mirror of God, Jesus, how does it say it in the Bible? Jesus did not consider it to be robbery to be equal to God. That's exactly what that means. Jesus was the firstborn of the dead. Jesus was the first mirror of God. So he went on to, well, out of the one, the many. We have many, 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 many. So people always talk about the father and they seem to forget the mother, which is fine. She doesn't care. She knows who she is. So those stories, for instance, of God saying to Abraham, your descendants will have the land. That's what he's talking about, from that one explosion, from the inner stars to the outer stars to the visible stars that reflected back to you. You're one of those stars that was created at the beginning, in the beginning, when God started all of this. That is a long video about the origin of creation and my story and my connection with Jesus and the fizzy bugs and the ETs and the aliens and the family of light and how I did all this. And so I guess if anyone's wanting to see, there's my beautiful, I don't know if you can see my scar. It's pretty big. It was 14 inches long, but I couldn't do that for a really long time. But I'm hyperextensive again and double jointed again, and I can run and I can skate and swim and do yoga, and my legs are double jointed, so they're double jointed equally again. Like, I'd sit down on the floor to make sure they're the same level, which is where my doctor said that's physically and medically impossible. And I was like, with God, all things are possible. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Please leave me any questions or comments you have below. In terms of community and getting to know people, I really look forward to answering anybody's questions, like to teach how did I heal myself, or like on the physical daily level, like what does the sound of grace sound like? How does it resonate? Love talking about the Bible, love deconstructing the Bible for people and helping them understand that better. And like I said, I guess I'll just keep going with stuff that comes up that I feel like the fizzy bugs and everybody want me to talk about. Super shout out and thank you to Daryl Anka. I don't think I could have mastered, I don't think I could have wrapped my head around everything without Bashar. I don't think my consciousness could have really like remembered who I am and who we are and why we came here and why we're here. Those words and those teachings brought it all together. I mean, I had a buttload of stuff, but Bashar's words, it clicked. And I did laugh, by the way. I busted out laughing because it's quite funny. All right, I love you all very much. Whatever you do today, do whatever you got to do today. But if you want to have a little fun, try to like take 5 minutes to do nothing. Just sit down and just just look at my bangs. Just shut up, sit down, and do nothing, and just be. And do that. Let your body do nothing. That's the whole point of that meditation. Just don't think. Just see how long you can sit and do nothing and be inside your body and let it be. Because it is your beast. It is, in a sense, a slave. It does what you tell it to do. And it needs a break. Most bodies need a break from being run around like little crazy slaves. And if you can do that for 5 minutes a day, then you'll want to do it for 10 minutes a day, because once you get the real feeling of that, you kind of don't want to do anything anymore. You just want to chill and master chill. And from there, your body will level up to like such higher frequencies that what you do choose to do physically, activity wise, will come from like your child space, and it'll be very efficient, and that's my my wish for you. I would call it homework, but you do what you want. But if you can spend 5 minutes and realize in that 5 minutes how much your monkey mind wants to just take you on a ride and be like, oh, you'll see why it gets really funny, and how our body is our heart, is constantly having to put up with these crazy beliefs, like the rich people who wake up alone and realize everything I thought this was going to give me didn't give me crap. So I love you again, and I will see you next video. I'm one long-winded person who says she had to learn how to speak no language. No, what the heck.